Hello, I am Lisa J. Stocks. Welcome to today's show. Thank you, Anthony, for tuning in and starting to chat early today. How are you? So, today I'm going to be talking about where I'm holding my cash. Now, I am a real investor with an HER on it, but you also have to have cash ready. And I like to share from time to time on the topic of making sure you stay out of debt. You have cash to continue with your investing in all of these different elements. So today is going to be one of those shows where I'm just going to talk about where I'm holding my money. We're going to go over high yield savings account that I'm using, money market account, the brokerage accounts, as well as CDs. I don't really do much bonds or other things. There are other elements, but I'm sharing what I am doing in my personal journey here. Hey, East Boogie, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for chatting. Please give the video, the live, a thumbs up as you come in. All right, so let's get started. First, let's talk about how much each generation has right now when it comes to savings. And I'm going to use this article from, I think, Forbes. So first, let's start with this. So this is going to cover types of personal savings, and this is going to be like emergency funds, non-workplace retirement accounts. This is what this survey is counting as savings. So like we hear often, less than $1,000 is the highest category when it comes to what people have saved. Especially the highest here is Gen Z, but the millennials are not too far behind, just 1% difference in this particular survey. But this is showing you that they have less than $1,000 in savings. And then still in the 1,000 to 5,000 range. That's a pretty big range, but not too many people. A lot are still falling into that lower bracket also. So now, what are the people saving for? What is their priority when it comes to savings? Let's move on to that. And we have a variety of things. And this particular survey, it's from last year, but we're not that far into 2025. But when it comes to savings, again, I like the breakdown that this article did because it's giving the different generations and their different priorities. Gen Z is going to have different things and different responsibilities than the baby boomers. So overall, the categories that people are saving for are emergency funds, vacation, down payments on a home, retirement, car, children's education, wedding, and businesses. Getting started up with a business. So just wanted to start off with that. And now let's move on to what I am doing when it comes to savings. And I would say out of the reasons, for my business, not a startup, but for my business, in order to continue with my real estate business and be ready to do renovations and everything that comes up, as well as just a general emergency fund, are my primary reasons for saving. So let me take this down. Wedding. Let's see what Anthony is saying. I'm over here looking all over. You can get a marriage certificate for under $50, get married at the courthouse. Well, some people, they've been dreaming about their wedding their whole life, and they spend thousands when it comes to that special day. But, to each his own. All right. So now on to, let me see. First, I'm going to start off with high yield savings accounts. Now, I happen to use Discover. Now, there are many out there, Ally, SoFi. You have to do your research and find what is the best fit for you as far as, does it require a direct deposit? Are there any minimums? Does it have a higher rate than Discover? But I've been using Discover for the past few years, and I've had a good experience with them, and I plan on sticking with them. So let me get started with what I'm going to share when it comes to high yield savings accounts. Let's see. All right. So currently, My savings rate is 3.6%. And I was down here at this part, and this gives a comparison to some banks that you might have in your area: Chase, PNC, Bank of America. Bank of America is my local bank that I use when I, want to physically go to a branch. But because their rate is 0.01%, I have been prioritizing having as much money over at Discover as possible. Just basically a checking account and very minimal amounts kept at Bank of America that is, accessible to me down the road. But I have been able to make so much money over the last few years, especially as when the rates were slightly higher than they were now, but I'm still doing well as far as the savings that I have sitting. All right, let me take a look. PNC, I have a high yield savings with them. They have 3.88%. Okay. Oh, they have that at their branches? Well, that's not what they're showing here, but you're doing pretty well with that. So when it comes to the high yield savings account, this is a way to obviously gain higher interest, have the security of the money being insured, but you also have pretty quick access to your funds. And for me, when I say that, I mean about 2 days for me to get that money transferred from Discover over to my local bank, the Bank of America. And most likely, if I run into an issue, I'm going to be using my credit card and then getting the money from savings at Discover in order to pay off my credit card. So I can afford, or I have the time to wait the 2 days for that transfer to take place. But in addition to that, I'm going to share something else. And okay, so when it comes to these accounts, really, I don't have any obstacles with using Discover as my bank. As far as the withdrawal limits, I think I might be about 6 per month. So that's definitely with, I didn't check that number, by the way. I'm just saying this off the top of my head. If I'm mistaken on that, I'm sorry. But there's many months where I don't even make one transaction. So if it's about 6, I'm good with that. Now, as far as the rate fluctuations, these rates, they have been coming down. They were closer to 5. I have videos on my page where I had, I did this kind of a rundown of where I'm holding my cash. And yeah, they were 5%. Some people are still watching those older videos. So I figured it was time for a recap as to where I'm holding my money. And what was I saying? Oh, as far as a con, it's not really a con. It's what's going to happen. Rate fluctuations. When Jerome Powell speaks, it's going to impact these type of things. And I knew that the rate that I got when I started the account was not going to last forever. But I also knew it was always going to be better than the local bank. So I was going to be making the move as a permanent thing, and I was going to be sticking with it long term. So now I use this for emergency funds, Christmas club, car repairs, all those different things. If you break it down into different type of sinking funds, some people just have one account for all of, whatever comes up. But I have multiple accounts for myself, and my daughter has a couple of two, and I name them, what they're for. Like we were just looking at with the reasons that people are saving for. But you can just have all of your money in one fund if you like. But you can also break it down into emergency and even like more specific than that: home repairs, car repairs, whatever, the vacation, the Christmas. I'm all about saving for Christmas because I feel like you shouldn't let things like that sneak up on you. All right, so let me get back to here. So now I want to go on to money market accounts. And I also have a money market account at Discover. And my current rate is 3.50% APY on that account. And that's what they give on balances under $100,000, 3.55% on over 100,000. And when it comes to this, the difference and reason why I have I'm doing a mix of different things. I wanted to add the money market account because I wanted to have a physical card associated with this particular amount of money and have a card for myself and a family member so that if something comes up, we have access to this account, a joint account together. So again, that was the difference that made me want to add this into my mix of things. With these accounts, you may have check writing or, like I said, have a card available to you. And this is good interest, the same, a little bit better as far as liquidity because you have the physical card. And let me know in the comments, do you do both? Do you do a mix of different things? I have more to share, but these are the first two. And I was just talking to my daughter about just trying to share with her the difference of what this makes. So this is a look at a money market account that I have at Discover. And as we saw, 3.5% APY. I have $3,000 in this particular account, and I'm gaining about $8 per month. And in comparison, now this is a totally different account that I'm making the comparison to, granted, but I was showing this to my daughter yesterday. I have an account over at Bank of America. And this is a business checking account. So different accounts, but I just wanted to show her that I got hit with a $16 fee on May 1st. And so I had to figure out what was going on here. And it slipped by me on February the 3rd. I was also charged this $16 fee as I was checking over my account. My mistake there. I wasn't keeping a close eye on my account back in February. But when I checked on it on May 1st, when this $16 fee hit me again, I was informed that I need to have a $5,000 minimum balance on this checking account at all times in order to avoid fees. So yeah, after all of the payments go into the account and the expenses come out, I do not see the need to keep $5,000 sitting in this account to avoid this $16 fee. So this is something that I'm going to have to eliminate because I won't be getting hit with this charge again. But really, what I really wanted to emphasize to my daughter is you dealing with a bank like the local bank, Bank of America down the road. This is the type of things that you might have to deal with. They don't have the convenience, the better rates, the features, the lack of fees that you can get by going to Discover. And this is a $16 fee for not having 5,000 while I'm gaining $8 monthly for having 3,000 in this other account. So just a little example that we were looking at. Let's see, that we were taking a look at yesterday morning after, I saw after I caught myself and found out that I had let this happen to myself twice now. So it must not have been an obstacle because I must have been just keeping that $5,000 balance and not being hit with that fee, except for that one time prior. All right, so now let's take a look at CDs. Hello, Anthony and Fast Eddie. MR, is it just Mr. or MR? Coach Sherry, thank you everyone that's tuning in so far. Oh, Chutchess, I see you out there. Thank you for tuning in. Let me just cover a little bit on CDs and then I will take a look at the chat to see if there's any questions. So now, okay, right, let me get back to this. I have CDs at multiple places, but at my local credit union right now, I was locked into a 5.0%, but that ended, it rolled over into a 4.0%. And that matches up with what Discover is currently giving for, let me go back here. For 9-month and 12-month CDs, their current rate is 4.0 APY. And for lower and higher terms than that, like the 6-month is 3.7, 18-month is 3.8. So most likely this would be what you would be aiming for to lock in for now. And I have a CD right now going on there that it dates back some months, and it's at 4.25%. So I have that locked in for a while. Now, when it comes to, let me see, where was I at? When it comes to CDs, this is a certificate of deposit. It's a great way to lock in these rates, but you don't get the liquidity of having it just in a savings account or the money market account, where you can get it immediately with the money market account if you have a physical card, or within a couple of days with the high yield savings account. With this, you have a different maturity date, so you have to keep in mind you have that fixed interest rate. These are also insured amounts that you're having at the bank, but you will be hit with early withdrawal penalties. So you have to be mindful of that. And as I just went over, another con when it comes to this is that lack of liquidity. You have to hold on for the term that you lock it in for. So you always know when that term is. When you lock it in, you have that visibility on your account. So this could be a good way for making a structure to plan for different things that you know are coming across, that will be coming up on your timeline, whether it's the taxes are going to be due, the tuition payment is going to be due, whatever big purchase that you're working towards. You can use CDs as a way to not just have your money sitting. This is a slightly better rate than you're probably going to get at your savings account, as we just touched on. It is better than the savings rates and the money market rates that I've already shared. So if I know that the tax bill is going to be coming again around this time next year, or I want to have accessibility for the money in 9 months, this could be a way to get on track to making your money grow, and then finishing out the term, not getting any penalties, and be ready to move on with it. So that's a way that you can use it in order to get ready for those upcoming things that you need. I guess this is called the structure is called, I think, like laddering, in order to be ready and not get yourself caught up in any, like I said, no penalties. We have to make sure to use these things in the best way to optimize the benefit. So, all right, now let me go back to, so that's pretty much everything that I wanted to share as far as Discover. Let me take this down for a second. Now I want to touch on brokerage accounts and the cash management features that they have there. So if you want your cash, your uninvested cash can be sitting in your brokerage accounts. And I do this on all of my accounts. And this is a way to gain interest, be ready for my investing, my options trading, my regular trading. But, like I said, you're going to be ready because the money is already sitting in the account. There's no delays of something that comes up and I want to get into it. The money is sitting there. And if for some reason I did not want to invest it or use it for trades, I could then transfer it back to my bank account. So I personally do this with Webull, MooMoo, as well as Fidelity. So when it comes to public, I don't really have a cash sitting there. I do have an account there, but it's just week to week. But I think their rates are in line with what I'm going to share here also. So when it comes to, let me see, I don't know who I have, what order I have here. So this is MooMoo I have first. So right now I'm getting 4.1% APY on my account there. Then over at Webull, it's at 3.75%. And I also have at Fidelity, I usually have my cash sitting in this SPAXX, which is the Fidelity Government Money Market Fund. And the current rate on this is 3.98%. So just all ways that I'm making sure to make sure that my money is working as hard as possible. Wherever it is, it's not making the 0.01% that it would if I had it at the Bank of America. It's not losing value or not gaining anything by sitting in cash in my house or in an envelope. It's I'm trying to make sure that it's thriving as much as possible. All right, so let me take a quick break. If you haven't already, please give the live a thumbs up. I'm going to take a break and take a look at the comments. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy this type of content, I only talk about personal finance, things like this, budgeting, staying out of debt, but a lot of making sure that you are on track with investing for yourself, investing for retirement, early retirement for your children, those type of topics. Word, thank you for tuning in. Let me take a look. Just gifted. Mr. is fine, or M. The M is from Matthew. All good. Okay, thank you. MR or Mr. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. I don't think I've ever seen you here before. Okay, so regular savings for sinking funds, half in high yield savings account and half into the CD. Okay. All right, a man with a plan. Yes, it's always good to have a mix of accounts. It's hard to take the money out in accounts that have the money moves out fast. Okay. And for some people, they like having the separation of the accounts. And it gives you a chance to think and say, do I really need to pull this money out? So if that's something that could also be a benefit to you of structuring your accounts in this type of way, I would say, do whatever works for you to get yourself on track. Coach Sherry, thank you for sharing out the live. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in and chatting. So I'm torn between a high yield savings account and a CMA cash management account. CMA moves pretty slow. Okay. All right. Oh, Trudy. Hey, Trudy. Thanks for tuning in. All right. I think I caught up. I see Vincent is here. I have a Fidelity cash management account, but it would let me move all of the money in the account to a traditional Roth IRA. Okay. Yes. You have to find the right balance that works for you. I definitely don't want anyone to um, confuse or not take advantage of the power of investing and just prioritize this. But I have to make sure to have some cash on hands. Like I said, I don't want to have to sell. I don't want to overly invest, which someone told me, like, Lisa, your audience is not going to overinvest. But when I talk about that, or when I use that phrase or mention this, it means that I run into some people that have shared with me that they sold their investments because they ran into an issue, car repairs or all these different things. So you have to find the right balance for you, because I don't want anyone to sell good investments because emergencies come up, when I would have hoped that they could have held on to the investment and let it grow and thrive and be there down the road, maybe for retirement or whatever they may need in the future. So don't think that I'm talking about these as though they are investments. Today is not an investment chat. This is savings for continued investing, savings to pay my credit cards when I do run into those emergencies for the short term. But I also prioritize making sure that I'm keeping on top of it to make sure that I'm not missing out on the opportunity of investing. And after being an investor for a few years, a more hands-on investor outside of my 401k, um, if I do quote unquote overinvest, I'm okay with that because I don't want certain opportunities to pass me by I feel like I allowed to happen to me with things that have happened over the years. Even the most recent with COVID and then the pullback that we had 2 years after, before the economy really thrived in 2023 and 2024. I should have had my eyes open and not been as concerned as I was about holding on to cash at those times because I haven't had to sell my investments. But if I would have known, I would have invested more, is the point of what I'm going on with right now. So, what company should people go to start a Roth IRA? Fidelity, Vanguard, etc. I would say Fidelity and Vanguard are both good options. I happen to use Fidelity. I would need to, I didn't pull information about Schwab versus Fidelity and Vanguard. Those are all, the big name legacy brokers, but I happen to use Fidelity. I've had a good experience with them. I had an account over at Empowerment. I closed that out. I moved all of my retirement accounts, and my daughter's accounts happen to be at Fidelity. And in some comparisons that I've done, and research that I've done in doing some of my videos from time to time, I really see the difference in Fidelity, the way that they don't have minimums to get started with investing. Even when we started my daughter's account, they gave her $50 when she started her Fidelity Youth account. But on a larger scale, to start a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA over there, I don't think there's any minimums to get started. So where I've seen with other brokers, there might be a $2,500 minimum to get started with your account. And that might be high for some and intimidate some. So I plan on staying with Fidelity for the long term. That's why I'm okay with even investing into their funds that have to stay in place there. Hopefully nothing happens in the future that makes me have to, sell my FXAIX if I want to move on to another broker. So I felt confident that I was going to be able to stick with them. So Mr. is sharing that he uses Schwab for his Roth IRA. Pretty much all the same when it comes to the big three brokerage firms. Yeah. The only thing that I can think of is I have seen, I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I have seen that some had some limitations that were, like I said, about $2,500. So I think that that alone, for someone who doesn't have the money to get started at those levels, I would hate for you to be holding on to cash and waiting and just feel overwhelmed by those type of limitations. And the same thing with using Discover. You don't have to have large sums to get started. These accounts don't have minimums associated with them. So you don't have to feel like there's any reason to wait. Always smart to have cash on hand as emergency funds or for new opportunities. Definitely. Yes. So I really have a goal of not ever running myself into credit card debt again. Large issues, large or small issues. I want to be able to go at it, hopefully right away, in order to not incur any interest. And so I need to have that on hand. And when I do run into those larger issues that might really deplete my savings, then obviously it's going to be my priority to rebuild my savings, even if it is slowly, in order to make sure I can be on track when the next thing comes up, because there's always a next thing that comes up. Okay. Good afternoon, Barry. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so now, if no one else has any questions, I think I'm going to go back to the article that I was talking about or referring to when we first started out, because they had a few other things that I found interesting. So I've probably been touching on them a little bit as we've been talking, but let's go on to factors preventing Americans from saving more. So let's see. All right. So some factors that we have here are rising costs of living. And this article is from some months ago. So obviously, especially now with the tariffs and everything that has happened since uh, Trump has been in office and everything that he has gone about making changes to, we are definitely seeing the impact of potential cost of living shifts while we're waiting for everything related to these tariffs to get shaken out. Next category, and that this category, this, if you weren't here earlier, this survey, this article that I was referring to, it breaks everything down by generation. So when it comes to the rising cost of living, it's something across the board that everyone's concerned about, from Gen Z over to the baby boomers. But next category down is paying off debt. And then we go on to loss of income, unexpected health emergencies, lack of budgeting. These are factors preventing Americans from saving more. Poor mental health. And the lowest category listed here is child support and alimony. So let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you agree with this list? Do you think that these are the main factors in your personal life or the people around you? What do you think the factors are that is preventing them from saving? Okay, so let's take a look here. Schwab does allow you to do partial shares. It's called Schwab stock slices. Okay, okay. But yeah, I wasn't just referring to fractional share investing. I was talking about just being able to set up the account in general. But yeah, that is something that I always love to share, is about the availability and the taking advantage of buying fractional shares. Um, has really helped me to grow my portfolio. But let me come back to that. Let's go on to the last point that I wanted to share from the article: ways to increase your savings. And okay, so this is heading on here is tactics Americans use to increase their monthly saving contributions. And in the first part, the first point that they share is by making sure to um, cut your monthly expenses. Rein in yourself when it comes to all that food delivery, the subscriptions, the streaming services, all of those things that you may not need, may be able to cut back on in order to prioritize, have more money for things that are can be better allocated in your current budget, especially with everything fluctuating and potentially going up, like basic necessities like our electric bill, the car insurance, the groceries, of course. So that's one thing. The second paragraph here touches on making sure to have a second job, a side hustle, bringing in those multiple streams of income, something we talk about here often. And in the last point that they share, this is more available to those that are in Gen Z, and that is relocating to a more affordable city in order to boost your savings. Now, this is not something that many of us might be able to do. So Gen Z, current age group of Gen Z is 13 to 28 years old. So they don't have the home, the family, established careers potentially. So they are the group that most likely would take advantage of that, of being able to move to a new location more easily than, the other categories like Gen X and those baby boomers. So I love your Instagram story you posted on tariffs with Beavis and Butthead. Yes, I saw someone posted that, and I went and found it on TikTok and shared it to my story. Yeah, I thought it was a little edgy, but yeah, guys, if you're not following me on Instagram, I might not post a lot, but pretty much daily I post in my story, so maybe not on my actual page every day. So you've probably seen the link in the chat today. It should be dropping in there, but yeah, follow me on Instagram. I'm on TikTok also. And as I said, if you haven't already, there's 30 in the chat right now. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, set it to all so that you can keep up with my videos and live streams. And another way you can support the channel is by joining channel membership. I think it's good to get rid of unnecessary spending like eating out regularly, bringing food to work, meal prepping, aka using up those leftovers. Okay, Anthony. I agree. I agree. I work remotely. On the days that I do not work remotely, I do try to say to myself, let me do better. Even if you don't want to pack, breakfast, lunch, coffee, even some elements to it can help out. Packing the coffee, having your water bottle with you, anything to help defer the costs, because I know you could easily spend a lot throughout the day if you're totally unprepared. Now, best to do it completely and have everything that you need for the day. But if you're working your way up to it, maybe start with some of those baby steps. Get yourself a good Contigo mug or something. That's what I use. I even use it around the house when I am working from home, because I don't have to constantly go and heat up my coffee, but it keeps it nice and hot for me. All right, so those are the main points that I wanted to touch on today. So guys, if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, I was just going over the interest rates and where I'm keeping my cash right now, and how I'm still able to take advantage, and I'm still getting pretty good rates on everywhere that I have my cash sitting. And this is cash for continued investing, for trading, for options trading, to make sure that I can pay my credit cards when I do run into any issues, because that is a goal. Staying out of debt is part of my mission in my life right now. So we touched on the high yield savings account, money market account, different brokerage accounts that I'm using, and what the current interest rates are, the current APY, as well as CDs through your local credit union. You can definitely find those at your bank, but I even have seen that the local bank rates on the CDs are slightly lower than even what you're going to get at your online banks like a Discover or Ally or SoFi or whichever you are currently using. So Anthony's helping me with the chat over there. Anthony, you might as well just come up on the panel, because it seemed like you've been here the whole show today. All right. So hopefully this is some information that was of interest to you guys. Yeah, I do try to make sure to prioritize having cash on hand, especially in today's day and age with things going up on us suddenly. Just making sure that I am prepared, because I don't want to run myself into debt, and I want to continue investing, be ready to invest and take advantage of opportunities when it comes to investing or trading. Now, I did want to show, I usually post on my community wall, not every week, but weeks like we're having last week, this week, as far as the earnings calendar. But let's just take a quick look at my community wall. So I saw in the headlines that Warren Buffett is going to be stepping down at the end of this year. After more than 60 years, he is passing the torch over to someone else to run Berkshire Hathaway. And now the earnings calendar. So the earnings calendar for this week is posted. I usually repost it from Earnings Whisperer. This is their layout, and there are a lot of big name earnings. We had last week, we had Apple, Amazon, but this week still more big names. We have Uber, AMD, Palantir, DoorDash, Disney, Realty Income, and Main Street Capital. Those are two of my monthly paying dividend companies that I have in my passive income portfolio. So I'll probably do my update for April after their earnings come out, which is going to be on May 5th and May 8th. So coming up in a few days. But take a look at this if this is of interest to you, to see if there's any earnings that you are interested in keeping track of. If there are things that you hold in your portfolio, I'm a person that keeps my portfolio kind of tight. Can't invest into everything because I'm a person that likes to really build up my positions when I start investing. I don't want to have, a quarter of a share of this and one of this. So I do focus on incorporating those ETFs in order to get exposure and just keep a limited amount of blue chip stocks that I am trying to build up my positions on. So let me see. Eat before you go out to the grocery store to help cut back on random snacks. Okay, Anthony, who are you having this conversation with over there? Another way, a way that I try to do this, not by eating before I go to the grocery store, but I do sometimes do my curbside pickups in order to make sure that I am getting what I need instead of going inside of the store and picking up random things along the way. So, what about eating less meat? It seems to be cheaper to just make veggie dishes or vegetarian style dishes to save a few dollars. Okay. That is an option, but I tell you, depending on how you eat, it still can be expensive. So I have vegan family members, and yeah, it depends on your choices. Everything at that supermarket is really outrageous. Oh, Anthony, I had in my mind that I was going to make you a mod on the channel. I didn't even remember that I went and did it. I must have done it. I see you have the wrench. Guys, y'all better behave because Anthony has a wrench and he will come after you. I'm too much of a meathead to eat veggie dishes all the time. Okay. These are your money saving tips. Let me go back and see where this started from. If there's a grocery store near to your office, it can help pick up lunch there. Yeah, Anthony, Vincent, I have done that before. Go to the supermarket and just pick up a few things really quickly. And then I'll have, like, if I buy like snack or the 6-pack of sodas or something, then that'll have me for the rest of the other days. Then I have to go into the office. I'll leave it at my desk. You gave me power. Oh, have you had this for a while? And I forgot. I forget things sometimes. My team has been bringing in items to share for lunch to help save and invest. Also, we planted some veggies to grow more health wise. Okay, all right. That is nice. With some great power comes great responsibility, most definitely. Yes. Okay, so since we touched on it, and I wanted to just stay on track and get my topic of the day finished, but fractional shares, something I love that this exists, and I want to make sure that everyone knows that this exists, whether it's for yourself or for, if you want to consider investing for your children or your niece, nephew, grandchildren, whoever, don't feel like you have to have a lot of money, even if it's a small amount that you do on a regular basis on the birthday, Christmas, Easter, or certain different occasions, just putting money away for them yearly. You don't have to have a lot of money. And when I first started investing, I was a person that wanted to buy the full shares. And I've shared this before, and I'm so glad that I got out of that place in my mind that I have to have a lot of money. I have to buy the whole share of Apple stock or this or that, because it would have helped, it would have hindered me on having good investments in my portfolio that I've been able to build up over time. For example, of course, let me start with this one, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was tens of thousands of dollars. So if it wasn't for me just doing it 5, 10, 20, whatever I had, little by little, I would not have had Bitcoin in my portfolio. That's the biggest one. But there are many others that had not had a stock split when I got started with investing a few years ago, when I got in started with investing outside of my 401k. So by getting my mind open and getting on board with, I can do this $10 at a time, 20, 30, $5 at a time even, it allowed me to have Amazon, uh, Tesla, so many good investments that I'm glad that I have now that were $3,000, $1,200 out of my price range that I could just pick it up every month or every week, or, on a regular basis. No, what I did was I would take stretches of time and say, okay, I'm going to do $10 a day for the next 2 months into a certain investment. Just make plans like that. Just go, enter challenges like I've done and I've shared here, in order to get on board with it. And, this whole story is just to say, whether it's for yourself or your family members, you don't have to buy a full share. I've been investing into Home Depot in my daughter's account for a while now, and she's still not to a full share. And that's okay, because we are working and plugging away at it, but it's a smaller allocation in her portfolio. And it's a bit of a higher price stock. And, I just never let the price of an investment hold me back from having it in my portfolio. Um, stock splits do make things more affordable, but I'm not waiting for the stock split. I can get on board with investing when I've done my research and I know that I want this to be a part of my portfolio. Lisa, what is your budget meal? What what is my cheap meal that I make? Well, I'm gonna give you an old, like, one that I did when I was little. Well, my mom did for me when I was little. Y'all are probably gonna find this to be a little weird, because everything's so expensive nowadays. I was jokingly talking to her about this other day, and I was saying even our little cheap meal isn't cheap nowadays. But she would take some white rice and put a whole can of tuna fish into the pot of white rice and season it up, little onions, little Lowry seasoning salt, and maybe a little squeeze of ketchup. And yeah, that's what I would eat. And I liked it. And I would eat some of it today if I had some. But yeah, just a very cheap meal, white rice and tuna seasoned up. But, obviously noodles, uh, with some just random little seasoning, a little, would be kind of one of those other cheap meals, either rice or pasta, with basically nothing much more into it in order just to fill you up, I hope I answered that question correctly. You weren't asking me for uh, a budget of how much I'm currently spending or anything. I hope I interpreted that one correctly, Anthony. Partial shares grow to full shares and better than zero. Yes, they do. They do grow. $10 at a time. And, you just have to stay consistent with it long term. And, I'm saying 10, 5, whatever works for you, you know. But yeah, don't be held back by the amounts that you cannot invest. Mac and cheese and cut up hot dogs worked for me when I was on a budget. Yes, especially if you mean the mac and cheese out the box with just the the powdered cheese or whatever. Because yeah, buying cheese that might put that out of the range that I would call it a cheap budget meal if you have to add real cheese to it. Okay, so I've tried a lot of different variations that dish. Tuna with green onion rice on the side table, garlic. You've had this before, or are you thinking this is strange? Anthony, are you making fun of me? Listen, I didn't want to give you something conventional. I wanted to give you something a little out the box, but for real, that is something that we would have when we didn't have much around the house. We had canned tuna and we had probably had some rice in the cabinet. So yeah, that was kind of, I call it the struggle meal. So I am unique. Thank you for tuning in and chatting. Okay. So guys, let me know if you have any other, this is out of the box for sure. Let me know if you guys have any other questions, comments on the topic of today. What are you guys doing as far as where you're holding your cash? What interest rates do you have? Are you keeping on top of the interest rates? Are you disappointed that they've come down, or were you already ready for that? I was ready for it. I knew it wasn't going to last forever. Do you do a mix of the different things like I touched on? I as I'm going through it and I was saying all the different things, I feel like some people might find the way that I do things a little overwhelming and too much, just like with my way about investing. So, uh, but it is what it is. I'm here to share my true story, and this is what it is. And I've had people make comments of investing every day is too much. Why don't you just do it on payday or this or that? But this is really the way I go about things. Yes, I have multiple savings accounts, money market accounts. I will keep an eye on when those CDs end and keep an eye on the rates in order to figure out what I'm going to do as my next move. And like I said, be forward thinking of, instead of just, the rates are rather close, but I'll take advantage of anything if it's going to help me on my path in order to, like I said, pay those taxes and pay those bills that you know are coming up. You know the date. You know when you're going to be filing your taxes and potentially have to pay back, which is what I ran into. Nothing that substantial, but I have to be ready for all of these different things. And I know it's easy when you know the date, then you can try to optimize something like a CD as opposed to um, just savings money market account. Even though the rates are close, might not make a difference to you. But like with the example that I was sharing earlier of the $16 fee that I'm getting charged from that account at Bank of America, I want to talk to my daughter about it and tell her that, we have to be on top of these things. I don't want her to think that $5, $16, like it doesn't matter. It all matters to me. And especially when she's getting started out, I don't want her to allow things like that to be impacting her budget. And she's not, not being mindful of them and thinking that it doesn't wind up building up over time. And those amounts, that $16 fee, if I wasn't on top of it, I don't want to get charged that $16 fee month after month or every month that I'm not hitting this minimum balance that they're requiring me to have. So, and I don't intend on leaving that amount of money sitting there in order to avoid the fee for the whole year, all year long. So yeah. But yeah, $16, that's another amount I could use for investing or saving if I've had to. Like I said, when certain things come up and you have to withdraw quite a bit out of savings in order to avoid the credit card fees. Those medical bills, I'm in that boat with that listing that I was sharing as to what what are the things that are coming up that are impacting people's being able to continue to save. That is something that I have been impacted with, medical expenses, that the copay, the portion that is my responsibility is often, something that I have to make arrangements for. But that's what I do. I'm not going to rush to pay it, but it's going to get paid in time. And, just making a plan in order to stay on top of everything. So let me take a look.
Thank you so much. We do greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Vincent, for something to use towards a fractional share. Okay, thank you. Or emergency fund. Thank you for sponsoring today's show, Vincent. I appreciate that. 29 people watching on YouTube and only three likes. Can't be, Anthony. I'm seeing 41 likes. I think you need to refresh unless there's something going on over here that I'm not seeing. But if you are currently in the chat and you have not given the video a thumbs up, please do so. All right. Yeah, I need to refresh. Okay. I didn't think it was that bad, Anthony. And I'm not on vertical today, so I think it's easy. It's even easier you don't have to double tap the screen. There should be no confusion as to how to like the live stream. Yes, you were here early. You were here super early. Okay. Pipeline. Pipeline, you of course, Pipeline loves Bitcoin. We wouldn't be able to make a comment without throwing some Bitcoin in there. Get 50, 70, 90% cheaper. I think this is huge. Okay. Okay, Pipeline is trying to get Bitcoin interest. That is Pipeline's favorite investment. If you have not seen him around here lately, if you have not ever seen him comment on my videos, he's always like, just invest into crypto, more Bitcoin. But that is not my personal strategy. I do have Bitcoin and a few other cryptos, as well as FBTC over at Fidelity. So I do have exposure to crypto, but I prioritize having a mix of things, having diversification throughout my portfolios. Okay, so Mister, thank you for the super chat. I might just do the same as Vincent suggested and use it for some fractional shares. But guys, thank you. We're at the beginning of the month. You guys are helping me to get towards my threshold for the month of May. And I'm coming up on I got monetized. It's been at the end of May, it'll be a year. So I'm 11 months in. And thank you guys for watching and supporting the channel all year long. Well, it's been 2 years now, but since I've been monetized, it's been getting close to a year. So it's been great to have your support and watching and supporting the channel in all of the ways. All right, so we are coming up on an hour. I'm going to be like Anthony and try to keep to an hour today. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm going to go and have some dinner, but I will be back next Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guys, feel free to leave me any comments, questions. I do usually try to go through my lives and my regular videos that I put out and put chapters in order to help you guys to navigate them more. No, I'm not having tuna and rice today. I'm going to have a nice dinner. No struggle meal. I didn't say I was struggling today. We have chicken and all different kinds of things, not just canned tuna. But see, Anthony, you got me distracted. What was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying. But thank you guys for tuning in. I was saying that I add chapters to my lives most of the time. So check out some of my past lives. I try to put that there so that you can navigate it more easily and be able to find information that you are interested in, and leave me any questions, comments, suggestions for future lives, as well as my videos throughout the week. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And thank you again to Vincent and Mr. for the super chats. I really do appreciate that. And what is going on here? I had a high school math teacher that ate tuna straight out of the can for lunch. What's wrong with that? Some people are not fussy. That wouldn't be me. I need some seasoning. But I hope that you guys enjoyed the show today, and let me know if there are any topics that you want me to cover. I'm always looking for suggestions. I appreciate you guys. I post to my community wall throughout the week. Like I said, follow me on Instagram. Usually more easily for me to share different things that I think are of interest over there. And, feel free to reach out to me if you have any interest in collaborating or anything like that. But I will see you next week. I try to go live every Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and put out videos and sometimes a pop-up live on other days, but more so just videos. But thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. Stock it up, stock it up.